Yeah, I'll tell you the best thing, and I've watched every Eagles game this year, so I'm thoroughly in tune to what they're doing. And the problem, or I don't know if it's a problem, it's a good thing, is their division's the weakest in football. I mean, no one's pulling away. They're hanging around. Ups and downs that they've had. They've been lucky because the Cowboys have not, had their star players in play. The Giants have been the biggest roller coaster team up and down out there. And the Redskins, the Redskins might be the best team to date in the division. So, I mean, you're right in it. There's no question. But being that the fact that you're right in it, how good are you, and do you have a shot if you do win it? And I don't see the Eagles right now having that shot to get anywhere else past winning this division.
What has been their biggest flaws so far? If you're watching all these games and you're saying, man, this team is missing X, Y, and Z. It could be more than X, Y, and Z, but what are they that you notice about this team as to why they're 4-5?
You're right. It does maybe start with X and a Z. Two receivers on the outside that can make explosive plays. I think Jordan Matthews is a very good receiver, but I didn't think he was ready to take over that go-to type of guy. He needs a complementary receiver dressed in the offseason outside of the draft, but you can't expect a rookie to go out there and take that on. The offensive line, obviously, that was a glaring issue to me prior to the season. I thought the guards were a desperate situation. I didn't think what you had out there was going to fit and plug and work. And then, obviously, you add the injuries that you've been having throughout the offensive line and the poor play. It's been so up and down. You really haven't been able to build consistency. And then Sam Bradford, obviously. I mean, to me, he's a good quarterback, but he has just not felt comfortable in my eyes in the system. A lot of bug-eyed to me. Early on, I felt like he wasn't quite in tune what was going on, having trust in routes, understanding where guys are going to be, not because of the lack of anything except just adjusting. I thought he's played his best football the last couple of games, but now the injury bug, which is something that was prior to just his play coming to Philly, which was a big reason why he could have been an issue, is now glaring its ugly face. So now Mark Sanchez comes in, and he's going to really be able to turn much around for you guys.
Yeah, I think you just missed Sanchez when you played with the Jets, but obviously the people in New York not fond of Mark Sanchez very much. Did you see that he gave them better rhythm, better movement in the offense? I know he's not a special player, but sometimes you could say, well, Bradford's a better quarterback, but Sanchez fits this system better. How much does that ring true in NFL offenses?
I do believe he does help the system look better on game days just because, one, the element of his legs, he's not a running quarterback, but he can move around in the pocket, get you some plays up the field, which is nice to have, when you're talking about just standing in a pocket in the Chip Kelly system. The one thing, though, that's the glaring consistency, not only with the Philadelphia Eagles, but his whole career, has been turnovers. And as good as he might look sometimes and as clean as the offense might look running, he hasn't been known. He has been turning the ball over. I think every game he's ever played in an Eagles uniform, he's turned a football over. So that's something that the Buccaneers have done well. Their defense hasn't shut anybody out by any stretch of the imagination. But I want to say there are about 8 to 9 turnovers the last 3 games caused on defense. So that would be something glaring to me that would be looked for in this football game.
Yeah, now, Ant, you look at Philadelphia played against Miami, a middle of the road, 4-5. A lot of people thought, wow, this is a team that is a winnable game. You should beat them. Are there a lot of differences between Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, or do you watch two teams that both have just a lot of issues and that it really comes down to who plays a better game on Sunday, not who's the more talented team?
Well, I think one thing that's glaring is the trenches are much better in Tampa Bay offensively than they are in Philly, and we're rolling with two rookies, one of which is actually out, so we're rolling in depth. We've had some ups and downs as far as starters, but these guys have protected Jameis well, and they've come off the ball and created some push for Doug Martin, who's had a fantastic season. Now, we've got to get back on track in our running game. That's something that's kind of what our identity was, and we need some other guys outside of Mike Evans at the receiver position to make some plays. And unfortunately for us, Vincent Jackson is still banged up and out, and our tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins has yet to been on the field now 8-9 weeks. So it's tough to find other guys. We got 2 undrafted rookie wide receivers that are solid players, but they're not going to be able to break off and be game breakers for us in any stretch of the imagination. The challenge will be, obviously, is your defensive front versus our offensive front. I believe that you guys have some very good players. I think Cox and Logan are as good a combo as I've seen this year in the NFL. And that's what's carried you guys. And unfortunately, if you got anything positive and a consistent basis on offense, you could be sitting pretty here at a lot better record.
Yeah, and Anthony Becht with us, played tight end in the NFL, was a first-round pick of the Jets. He now does pre and post for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tell us a little bit about Winston. I heard him today on the conference call. He said he was a big Eagles fan growing up, liked Randall. He said he wore the Randall jersey walking around. But there was a lot of question marks about him, man, at the draft. Has he lived up, exceeded expectations? What do the people in Tampa have to say about Jameis Winston?
Well, I think the apprehension was everything outside football. And I think, honestly, I had to grade him on everything else except football. I would give him an A+. He's done everything and more to show that, number one, he's all in on football, and he's a proven leader, and two, that he wants to take over the leadership role of this football team. On the field, I think he's shown improvement at a nice, steady pace. He went 4 games without turning the football over outside of last week, which he had 2. But he was strong enough and good enough to hold this team down on a 4-minute drive to end the game to beat the Cowboys. The one thing that I'll say about him is he's confident in his ability, and he's able to shake off bad plays very quickly. Guys are buying into what he's selling. You saw a lot of that stuff, the cheering stuff in college. That stuff is genuine. He comes from a winning culture. The kid's a winner, and he's not buying into what the culture has been in here in Tampa. And I think that's been the biggest positive and why this team has 4 victories, doubled their win total already with him at the helm.
Yeah, he's been impressive the last couple of weeks. I know they didn't play very well last week. That had to be a horrible game to watch. I didn't see any of that game. 10-6, though. That had to be an ugly game to watch. So what can they build off of that? Because, quite frankly, you're watching that game, you're thinking, all right, this team really struggled against a Dallas team that's lost 7 straight.
Well, Dallas was reeling at this point, and they had to win this game, hopefully, so they get 1 win under their belt with Romo. So I think they came in playing a little harder than maybe normal, equal to at least what the effort they gave to you guys in a divisional game. I would say this, for this football team to continue to get better, we have to learn how to win 2 in a row. We've won 1, lost 1 the last 5 weeks. And that's been the biggest key for me is when this team can figure out how to do it in back-to-back consecutive weeks, that's when they'll start believing a little bit more and getting over the hump. And we've done it through injuries and some banged-up players. We haven't had our top pass rusher now last week fighting to get back on the field. We're limited outside of Gerald McCoy. Our defense has had 7 different starting lineups in the secondary. The only mainstay has been our linebacker play. Levante David and Quan Alexander, a 4th-round pick out of LSU this year, has been a star for this football team, and he's been the leading tackler or the leading explosive player on the defense almost every week. So it's good to have those 2 guys. We got a lot of speed, and we're going to need it with those quicker running backs that you guys have with Sproles and that coming out and squirting through those holes this week.
Yeah, we'll see if Matthews can play. He's still in the concussion protocol. Anthony Becht, you were at the Greenhouse the other night, right?
I was, yeah. Myself, the 4 first-round picks, and Lavernius Coles from the 2000 draft. We got invited up. We were the honorary captain coin flips at the coin flip. So it was good to be back. Good to see those guys. And I always like to pump it up. But 61 seasons of NFL football between 5 guys in the same draft class. To me, that's hard to beat. Somebody mentioned the 74. Wow. 74 Steelers draft class had several Hall of Famers. I think I can sleep at night living to know I'm behind those guys.
Ant played for the Jets 2000, 2004, so you missed Sanchez. 2008 with the Rams, so you missed Bradford down there, too. So you missed 2 mediocre quarterbacks. Congratulations to you.
No doubt.
All right, brother, we'll talk to you soon as this should be an interesting game. There's no gimmies in the NFL. These games, I say it all the time, every game's a winnable game because nobody's safe for about 5 teams are any good.
You're right. I think this football game, if you really look at it from a standpoint of trying to get yourself in, this could be potentially a knockout game for one of these 2 teams. Obviously, the Eagles bigger aspirations coming into the season. Tampa Bay, nothing really to lose going into this year. This is all house money right now as far as where their season are, and I think that's kind of weighing in confidence as they play hard every week.
All right, Anthony Becht, everybody, here on the Sports Bash 97.3. Eagles and the Buccaneers this Sunday. You can listen to the game on 97.3. All right, pal, we'll talk to you.
Take care, man.
All right, Anthony Becht, good to catch up with him. Really good insight. I like that. He called, Bradford. He said, good quarterback, but he looks a little bug-eyed in this system. I got the same feeling. I always say, look, he looks clunky. It just doesn't look like – I'm not saying Sam, if he went to a different team and had an offense that was – and look, we all thought that, well, he ran this at Oklahoma. This is something that he would be pretty good at. And you know what? To be fair – he doesn't have a lot of weapons here, and I know we said the same thing about him in St. Louis, but look at the difference between Nick Foles here and Nick Foles in St. Louis. I know I bang on Nick Foles a lot. He was a hell of a lot better here than he is in St. Louis because St. Louis has squadaddle for talent down there other than the running back. When you don't have help, it's hard if you're just an average player. If you're an average player, you need great players to make you go from average to good. And right now, Foles doesn't have that there, and Bradford doesn't have that here.